Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Director of Marketing and Communications at the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and your Words of Wisdom podcast. Today, I am joined by
Kristina Rose of Kristina Rose Photography.
And so as of the time of recording, we have just left the Lunch and Learn on building a brand identity that Kristina talks. So a lot of what we're going to be discussing today is kind of built out of that. It is not yet available for you to see as of the release of this episode, but it is going to be on our YouTube that you can watch that. Also, first and foremost, how do you think that went?
I thought it went really well. And I didn't really know what to expect because there were so many different people coming. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I really do think that I underestimated is the people really wanting to have a personal brand. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the conversations that I have with people in the community is branding their business and things like that. So that is one thing I want to dive into more here. Yeah. Because I love that topic, actually.
And I think it's cool just listening to the people in the room, because I mean, so much of it was like, how do I separate them? And one thing you brought up is that you can't. I mean, I personally think there are certain ways that you can change that. I mean, whether it's certain, I think about myself. When I'm at the chamber, I am Chamber Alan all the time. When I leave here, I'm still a representative of the chamber. No matter what I do, people that know me from the chamber are always going to identify the chamber along with me. That doesn't mean that I am there, Alan, as the marketing person. Yeah. I'm Alan, the new dad, but I'm still chamber guy. So let's jump right into that then. With the personal identity for you, what's the separation? What's the difference between that personal identity and the business identity?
I think the easiest thing for people to think about is this job your be-all, end-all? And I would say that there is no way that we could all say that. Even if you own a business, eventually, potentially, you'll sell it or you'll just move on or whatever. And so that's how you have to think of the brand. And I think that's the number one thing you need to think first is what I'm doing right now, my be all end all. And so a guy came up afterwards and he is younger and he was like, well, how do I, this is my job, but how do I also have a personal brand, but also represent my job? And I told him this is what I would do is your job just sort of becomes a part of your day in the life of who you are. Yeah. So people don't need to know, you're never wanting to sell that much, especially when you're building a personal brand. It's not like, oh, I make cabinets, and so let me show you more about cabinets and tell you about colors. And no, it's just like, hey, today I have a sales meeting with this guy. He's super interested in that. And I'm excited to meet him. He's also a member of such and such. And, talking a little bit more about that and telling stories about that without feeling like you're selling something. And I do think even though that is so much a part of how social media and personal branding is today, like be real, be real, be real, we are beating against like years of the selling mindset. Of the elevator pitch at all times mindset. Yes. And that's gone.
Yeah. You can be that person and be that representative of what it is, but it's also like when you get to the personal side, there's so much of the why that becomes more apparent of why is your why connected to the why of the business. So like with me, with the storytelling and all those things, I think about the hobbies that I have that I enjoy. I'm a big D&D nerd. I am the DM for my friends. I'm the one crafting the story. And I look at all of the things that I do in my day-to-day of work, and it's like, well, I am crafting the story of the brand identity, the marketing campaign. It's just taking those things and going, oh, that's cool that's how why do you gravitate towards those colors and those things more? Why do you like that particular cabinet? That's the weirdest sentence I've ever said. Why do you like that cabinet? I've never thought about. But I do.
That
I
and
have
also
certain cabinets
using
I like.
all those acronyms for things that I was like, wait, DM. Wow, that's
yes,
probably
Dungeon Master. Yeah, there we go. Dungeons and Dragons. There's always so many acronyms for so many things that you walk into and someone's like, oh yeah, I went to the ABC, the XYZ, and you're just like,
yeah, just pretend.
Totally.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't know what that means. But anyway, yeah, I think that's so important. And I think that people, especially like as AI comes around and everybody, it's the authenticity that's going to be so important. So when I would say, you're thinking, and we talked a lot about today, building a story brand and telling your marketing like a story. But like taking that a step further is when you're building your personal brand, you want to tell the story, but you have to be good at telling a story, which is totally two different things.
Yes.
Because I think I was going to say this to somebody, once people realize that you now need to be active on social media and you need to start making videos. Okay, now I figured out how I'm going to tell my story. And then you got to figure out all the little tweaky things that annoy people about videos, and you can't do it.
Right. Yes. And that's really hard. I think about it. You made this joke right before we started about all the guys who have podcasts, and it's true. There's so many podcasts out there. And something I always used to focus on when talking to people was, in a sea of podcasts, if you have bad audio quality, immediately someone's going to turn somewhere else because there's someone else making that exact podcast with better audio quality. Is audio quality the end all be all? No, but if you start off on a bad foot, you're shooting yourself in that foot. So it is keeping an eye on those pieces. And with the story branding, something you brought up was Allstate's Mayhem. And I think it was fun because you put it all through the scope of Harry Potter at first, of this is who this is and this is who that is. And then when we were able to watch that commercial, breaking it down more, the hero, the person who's at the center of the story, you were describing that as being Harry. And when we were watching the commercial, it was like, great, who is that? And a lot of people were like, Mayhem, this. But then they started to get, oh, it's the person in the car.
Yeah.
And so talk to me a little bit more about that piece. Why is our customer, why is our client, why are they the hero of the story?
Because they are the people who are struggling. They're the ones with the problem. The hero always has the problem. And so if you look at any movie or whatever, like the I don't know, story brand always uses Hunger Games. I couldn't think, wasn't coming to me. And that's kind of easier,
right?
Naming a hero in a movie, but they're always the person that has the problem. And is that ever you as a business owner? Are you the one with the problem? No, you solve the problem. It's not about you. You're not the star of the show. You're not the hero. That is the biggest thing you've got to get over, I think. But realizing that it's not about you, it's about them and what their problems are.
And then the identification of the problem, the identification of what you're doing, I feel like it's also a struggle for some, because I go back to the many times we've talked about you being specific about your target audience. You can't say, oh, I can fix this problem for everyone. Not everyone has that problem. So identifying, you pointed out what's the actual external problem as far as who's the villain of the story. And then there are also some smaller pieces along the way. I mean, back to Harry Potter. Voldemort's that external problem. In the Mayhem, it's the damage happening to the car. But then the smaller problems you're also fixing within that, because they pop up too. For you with photography, let's walk it through. Hey, okay. Let's promote you. Is that what this is for?
Twist my arm.
So your hero are the clients coming in for pictures. What is their external problem?
Well, you would think that their external problem is they need pictures for marketing. Simple, right? But their internal struggle, they know they need pictures. But then why aren't they just beating down my door to get pictures, right? That's because photography creates me picking up a camera can give a person more like trauma recall than like going to the dentist. People hate it. They really do. I mean, I've had somebody tell me they would rather have a root canal than take a picture. So that's their internal struggle, their internal problem, is that they just don't think they could take a good picture. they think they have to be a model in order to take a picture.
Right.
That's what they see for themselves. And that was kind of the philosophical example too of my problem for my client, which is it's not fair. They see pictures of people they see really good pictures of people and they think that they can't do it. And that's just not fair. Right. But the truth is everybody can do it. I just have to show them the ways that it happens.
Right. This is not going to be the nicest way of saying it, but I think back to former podcast where they were talking about all of the beauty things coming from influencers. And the way they put it was, it's not that you're ugly, you're poor. That's the difference in that, like, when you see a picture from Kylie Jenner and you're like, I can never have that. That's not true. You can have that, but you have to find the right solution to the problem. And sometimes it's, hey, I need the photographer that, and I'm not saying this is you, but I need the photographer that costs $1 million because they're going to have all the lighting equipment in the world that gets rid of every pore that I've ever even thought of having.
Yeah.
And so I think when you look at those internal problems, that's where you really get into, like you said, the traumas, the pieces. For me, I've never liked how I've ever looked in a picture. So I know walking in, that would be my problem. The internal problem for someone else might be, oh, I've taken a photo before, and so I think I know all of the right answers. And that's a different thing that you have to solve. So then we got from the problem, the solution. The solution is at the end, but you talked about that in two ways: solution and failure, and showing both. What's the difference, and how are you showing both?
Okay, so the solution is, as businesses, you come to me, you get your photos, then you have everything done and you have a consistent brand look. And also it's a little bit more elevated than, say, your cell phone or whatever. But your failure would be, and my example for this is always, love her, Allie Trent, Shop Lola Lou, because she is a very small business owner. She makes clay earrings. She does actually a really good job at her own product photography, but she always gives me praise because people say yes to her to be in very exclusive, like, setup, like going to different places and setting up where there are a lot of people asking, like these fairs and stuff, because her brand is so elevated. But I mean, really, she does the same thing as other people do. It's just the presentation. And good photography helps you take it to the next step.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the failure would be like, well, you're really good at doing what you do. You're really good at making earrings, but nobody knows that because your presentation, it's kind of...
Yeah.
So...
And I think that can also, because we talked some about the consistency and used her as an example and going down her Instagram feed and looking, there is the consistency of color, a consistency of quality. But I think that there's a piece of failure that could be if you have a lot of consistency, but there's no piece to it. There's none of the story to it. I think about that quote of with the vending machine, the lights on, still works inside, but if it looks really great, but there's nothing behind those eyes, you go to it. I tell people this a lot with pictures, and I think you do too with the smile. There's a smile we all have that is our go-to of, and it's like your eyes could not look more dead right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's finding those pieces. And at the end of it all, you're the guide. You're the Dumbledore.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit more about how you explain that, because I thought it was such a good way of explaining why the guide is who they are.
The guide is the one that sprinkles the little pieces of wisdom, right? You don't, so little, for me. So for instance, it would be like, let me show you the difference between what good lighting looks like in this photo. Let me show you what it looks like when you do the little thing with your neck and sometimes the double chins disappear. Let me show you what that is, and just setting myself up as the authority for having the knowledge in that. But then also when I say that, having a little bit of empathy, like, I know that y'all are scared. I know that you're afraid to get in front of the camera, but let me tell you, I get it because I do it sometimes too. And I'm uncomfortable. Right. I like to, let me tell you what I like for my photographer to do for me when I'm getting a picture. I want to be posed. I want to make sure my hips don't look big. I want to make sure, we've all got our hangups that we want to cover. So that's what the guide does. So it's like, let me give you little nuggets of wisdom to help you along the way. And then let me challenge you to buy in, or let me give you that call to action. So you can't just have your call to action. Some people will buy. I mean, always people are just ready, right?
Right.
But you really have to build it up so that when you do give the call to action, they're like, oh, well, she's really set herself up as the authority. I feel like I can trust her with something that I really don't like doing. So just working yourself up to that as the guide. It's easier for me to think of myself as the guide than it is as the hero.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't want to be like I don't need a lot of praise from you. I want your clients to praise you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need them to know that I took your pictures.
I think there's also a part of that and it's finding your ideal client too, but that as the guide, even with the call to action, you're setting them up. It is up to them to make the choice between success and failure, because you can't force them one way or the other. And that helps you figure out who's going to be your ideal client, because you can tell them all the things in the world, but if they're not going to believe in and trust you, there's nothing you can do as a business owner. Which brings me to the next piece, which is the one part of your presentation where I was like, I think I disagree with Kristina.
Oh, ruh-roh.
So one of the questions was about setting up separation in your business and the separation of certain branding pieces, or, I do this service and this service. And it was kind of focused on, should I have a separate website, have a separate Instagram, have a separate piece? So first, let's talk about your side of how you thought on that.
I am assuming, as an overall, for somebody like me, a small business, or somebody that's like even just a little bit bigger than me, we don't have time. Ain't nobody got time for that. And also, I'm selling people working with me because I'm the guide. And I would argue that for like real estate agent, insurance, and I mean, it needs to all sort of fall under the same umbrella. Like, let's say you're, I don't know though. I was going to say, let's say you're a real estate agent, but you're also a photographer, which I think definitely exists. I
did it very briefly. It didn't work.
You could, if you really knew how to build your personal brand, I think that you could do it. But the thing that you have to, I guess that you have to think about is, if I want to sell that business, I need to be sort of separated from that. But I would say you can, if it falls under the same umbrella, you should do it under the same thing. I'm thinking more small businesses.
Right.
What's your example that would help me think outside of that?
Well, honestly, what I thought about was when it came back to, I really love the quote that if you confuse, you lose.
Yeah.
And it made me think, even on the photography side, and I'm going to use my wife as an example, primarily does weddings. Most of the website is focused on weddings. If someone goes to that landing page and sees all of these pictures of weddings, and they are trying to get a picture of a house because they're in real estate, is their thought going to be, oh, I need to click on this button for this specific service? Or are they going to go, I might be in the wrong place? And so that was kind of my initial thought, but it also came back to looking at your target audience. If your target audiences are so vastly different, that's when I think it is beneficial to have the separation, because, you don't want to have them confused and you don't want to have them bouncing off.
Honestly, kudos to whoever can actually keep all that separate in their own brain, like as a business owner. It would be so hard for me to have like multiple different, I guess, super different ideal clients, because that would be hard. But I think in general, like most people, and I really should probably even update mine, should have your main website landing page should be like, here's everything that I do, and here are the tabs for you to dive deeper into those things. Yeah.
And I agree, because even within that, like, I think if the services are similar enough, you mentioned you don't want to be competing with yourself with SEO. That's where I mentioned you can have those 301 directs set up, that if you're doing this service and this service, They should both be under the same website. But then if you have a certain client that you want to reach, then you give them one URL and they go there and it goes directly to that linked page. Most websites you can set up, even those linked pages, don't have the same drop-down menus and all those pieces. There's so much to that you can do, but it is hard. I think the time aspect in that too is what can you take on as a business owner?
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes it might be that, yeah, you're a coffee shop and bakery that is able to sell your baked goods online. Well, should you have both of them under one, or should you have the baked goods that you can sell online separate because you can reach more people? There is no one answer fits all. I think it's just a matter of finding that target audience.
Here's an example. You saying that made me think of that Amanda Killen that I had come chat and do the talk back in January. So she has a pretty large following for a personal brand. But so she does talks and things for small businesses underneath the umbrella of her personal brand. She also owns a coffee shop, which she talks about sometimes as her personal brand. But her coffee shop has its own Facebook, Instagram page, and they run it like, here's how you make this. She shows employees and things like that. But she will mention it every once in a while just on what she runs as her personal brand. Her husband also has this leather shop where he makes handmade bags. She mentions that every once in a while on her personal page because it's part of her life. So that's how it would actually be a really good example to go kind of watch the pieces, and she's, local to us, watch the pieces of how all of those branch out from her personal brand.
Right.
Because ultimately, why people follow her and why she has such a good personal brand, so simple. She is a good storyteller, period. That is how you'll have a good personal brand. Like, not, this aspect of story and Dumbledore and Harry Potter and blah, 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 all this stuff of story brand. It's really like, can you make me listen to you for 1 to 3 minutes?
Right. Yeah. And I think it's the hardest piece in all of this, in that all of this takes so much balance because, again, you could be the cleanest, crispest looking Instagram timeline in the world, and you could lose the fact that you're not connecting with your community. You could lose the story. You could have the best story in the world, and your entire brand marketing is horrible photos, terrible lighting, and you're going to lose people that way. There's so many ways that you can lose people. It's really tough to get it all together. So I'm not trying to say, I never think, hey, there's an easy solution. It's all hard work. It's all hard work, but sometimes that's what makes it worth it.
And it's so hard to, and this is my struggle, and I know for sure it's so many other people's struggle. It's that we spend so much time working in our business and we don't spend a whole lot of time working on our business, and marketing is the largest aspect of working on our business. And if you could just find, like, I'm going to have a sit down lunch date. It was like, this was my giveaway because honestly, I wish somebody would give this to me. Just somebody that I said, I will sit down with you and talk to you about marketing. I will let you talk about you. I will answer all your questions about you, and I am not going to talk about myself at all. I just want to listen and help you work through things. Having somebody that'll do that with you and go back and forth, I really do feel like that's pretty valuable.
Yeah. I think it's really easy to get caught up in your own world and be your own sounding board.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're in an echo chamber of, it's this, it's this, it's this. I think I'm pretty sure I've said it in an episode with you before. I fully believe intentions don't matter. It's the perception of what happens. My intention could be, I'm doing this. It's really creating this. And then my audience can see it and be like, why is this not?
I did not try and come over that way.
You got to talk to people and get those other opinions. That's the only way you're going to be able to keep it moving forward, and then actively listen.
Oh, yeah.
It can't just be I'm listening for the, yes, you're great. It needs to be, I'm listening for the, no, but this. Yeah. Steve said it as we walked in. Nancy Creed is someone that will tell you to your face when you've done something wrong, and she will be nice about it, but she's not going to sugarcoat the thing that you've done wrong because she knows that's the only way you're going to get better. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we're back, I want to talk about brand culture and identity, specifically as you're kind of talking about employees and the continuance of your business. Kristina Rose Photography. Photography for your business. Kristina Rose specializes in empowering small businesses, entrepreneurs, and professionals by creating images that help grow their brand and save them time. People do business with people. Take a journey from stock images and cell phone photos that create a messy marketing message to stunning images that will stop the scroll. As a headshot and branding photographer, Kristina Rose can help you tell a purposeful marketing story. So if a picture says 1,000 words, what's yours saying? Are you ready to refresh your headshot? Book your professional headshot session today and show the world your best side at krosephoto.com. That's krosephoto.com. Back to the episode. We are back from break, so I want to give a shout out to Grand Home Furnishings for the amazing rug that you can't quite see and the chairs that we have here that made this, one, feel much more comfortable when recording, but two, actually look a lot more presentable than just the corner of my office.
This would be a good posing chair, too.
Yeah.
You know, like sit up tall. And
right, you can do that. You get all the pieces.
I have to come.
See, this is how brains work, and I like just to have that separation. So thank you, Grand, for providing these to us. All right. So as we talk about specifically that brand culture, that identity, really the crux of this question is going back to that separation of brand identity and personal identity. How can you make sure that your business, for employees, for a marketing firm that you might hire, how do you create that culture so that others can identify with it and it not be all about you? I'll use Chamber, for example, because I used it earlier today. You know, when I was leaving for parental leave, I sat down with our interns and had them create the newsletter and those pieces, and creating the captions is hard. For anybody doing copywriting, kudos. It's not easy. And they were like, how do I make it? Because a lot of it was like, we are selling this. This is happening. And I told them, I said, look, it's about the community aspect. It's about taking those things that we've kind of developed over time of ribbon cutting is a capitalized word, even though grammatically it's not right. So what suggestions do you have for people to work on that for themselves?
If they're an employee.
If they're an employee, or if it's the business owner saying, hey, so much of this is I've run this business for 20 years. I'm not going to run it for another 20 years. I want someone else to. How do you impart that wisdom and that knowledge?
I think it really comes from, I don't know, as you were talking, I was thinking big picture, right? Mm-hmm. And Chick-fil-A comes to mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just, I think I heard on a podcast sometime, it's not just Chick-fil-A, because you know how what is it that they say? Oh, it's my pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Yeah.
But it was also, there is a, I saw him in a photography conference, but he really talks about the experience and customer service. He has a hotel in California, and it kind of like, if you were just looking at it, you'd be like, I don't know about this, but he has created this like amazing experience. Mm-hmm. And it starts from the bottom up for him. And I think when you work so hard to create that, it bleeds through, mm-hmm. right? And one of the things that he does is that everybody says the same thing when somebody walks through the door. And it's very similar to the my pleasure thing. But that's what you really need to do. Mm-hmm. And I think just with anything, when you're talking about branding, personal branding, is consistency. And we talk about it when we're doing our call for referral, mm-hmm. and how important it is to say that catchphrase so that people can remember you. Oh yeah, that's what she does and that's what he does, because you just repeat it over and over again. And I think once you start doing that in your business, it takes intention. I mean, it's no different than anything else. You just have to think about what it is and you start doing it and teaching what it is. An example that he gave was he had somebody come in from, I think they were from Australia or something, and they made a joke about a certain kind of breakfast that they liked while he was there. And they were headed on to Disney World or Disneyland, whichever one's in California. And they were going there after him. And he got on Amazon really quick and ordered whatever that product was that she had mentioned. I mean, he said it cost him like $10, had it sent to the place that she was staying because she brought that up and thanked her for staying with them and then gifted her that. But other people are seeing him do that. So it kind of bleeds into it. So it's almost like it starts with you.
Right.
It starts with the business owner or the person, whatever, that you have this like rigid system. If you want to pass things on, it has to be a rigid system. Like, I think it's too hard to pick up your personality.
Right. Yeah.
If your personality isn't, without, for lack of a better word, almost a rigid system.
Right.
It's your culture.
Yeah.
And you've worked to create that culture.
And the culture, I think, is the biggest piece, because I think of the Savannah Bananas.
Oh my God, I love them.
And I do too. And it kind of goes back to the story branding and everything as well. It's never about you, and you are never... Like, you specifically aren't the solution, you're the guide. He talked about when they had their first games, even when they got successful, they looked at, okay, what were the wait times that were going on through the food? And then that was paring down and solving the problem so that for the culture of people going through, they always felt that certain emotion, that certain type of way.
Before he even started doing the Savannah Bananas, he addressed the problems that people have with like actual baseball. And it was the lines and all that stuff. Like, this guy is a marketing genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Come talk to us, please. It's just one of those things that I think with anything culture, with anything brand, it's got to come back to that emotional piece, because that's what connects us to anything. We talked about it today, and you brought it up with a lot of the products. One of them you didn't mention that I'll mention here. It's, you don't drive a Ferrari to get from point A to point B. You drive a Ferrari to feel that power that's behind it. I would argue that most people driving Ferraris don't know how to drive a Ferrari. Like, it's the way that they feel.
Like they do.
They do, exactly.
They look like they do, and they feel like they do.
No one walks in and buys a $500,000 car because they need a car. And so I think it's looking back at what we do and connecting those emotional pieces.
The Savannah Bananas, first of all, I really do love them a lot. A lot. If you really are interested in marketing and wanting to think about it differently, just follow them. But they are also a really good example of, they have a, somebody that owns the business, which honestly, you don't see him very much.
Right.
You sure as heck do see a lot of his employees, and all of his employees, and I'm saying quotation marks because they're his baseball teams, and the boys that are on that. They all have separate like TikTok accounts and social media accounts, but I can guarantee, because it's so obvious, they have a personal brand. They are able to post personal stuff, but it is reflective of their life as a Savannah Banana. That's another really good example, and like a way to think about how you would want your employees to have their own personal brand. These are like young 20-something guys, just kind of being funny and silly, but they also are, if they did anything wrong, it would be reflective of
And I think reflective is the key word in that. Like, your employee is never going to have the same dedication that you do as the business owner. There's, and it's not a disconnect. It's they're two separate pieces. But I think about, the streaming service Dropout. Used to be College Humor, and whenever their parent company sold them off, they were bought from within, and their culture shifted and became fully focused on making sure all of their employees were taken care of, making sure that all of their employees' ideas and thoughts and traditions were nurtured, and it's developed into its own culture that they just had a price change for the first time since 2020. They went from $6.99 a month to $7.99 a month for new subscribers only.
Oh, wow.
And people that have been subscribed to them since before 2020 were basically like, I'd pay $100 a month to be here. And I think that's where you get into those pieces of, you've got to find the right people.
Yeah.
Not everyone is the right people, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If I can take and do 12 weddings a year, and each wedding these aren't emblematic of our prices, I know. If I can do 12 weddings a year, and each wedding is $10,000, at the end of the year, it's $120,000. If I can do 6 weddings at $20,000 a year, that's $120,000, and I've found the right people. Yeah, sorry. That's I could go a whole long diatribe about just like treating people right and doing the right thing and all those.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's just the crux of it.
Having teenage kids and, being in and around teenage kiddos in our area, and they're all getting jobs, and they're many, I will not name names, many complain about how they're treated and some of the stories I hear. And I'm like, daggone it, if Chick-fil-A can do it and people like their job, it's not a them problem.
Right.
It's a business problem.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, these kids and your employees will do if you create the culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the culture takes you a long way. I mean, look, we're talking about Chick-fil-A's culture right now, and I haven't had Chick-fil-A in over a month, and it still is one of those things where you're like, you can see how it ripples out.
Yeah. And that's brand.
Word of mouth. Yeah, brand. Absolutely. So some of the nitty gritty pieces of this, we talked about AI, we talked about Chat GPT, and you brought up something that I didn't think about at all. You mentioned that, with Microsoft investing more in Chat GPT, they're pulling from Bing and not from Google, which if you're like me, you're kind of like, ew.
Ew.
But you mentioned Bing Places, and I didn't even know Bing Places existed until that moment. Oh. So what are some of those that you're like, all right, you need to do these to-do steps?
Bing Places, if I'm being super honest, actually ask ChatGPT, what do I need? I did it. I don't know. I think I heard a podcast or something that they mentioned like, being searchable on Bing. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
But Google My Business, Bing Places, same thing.
Yeah.
So that's just what they call it. And I would argue that it's easier, and I can't remember specifically, but I don't believe I had to get mailed something and like fill out something. Like Bing was a little bit easier, and also Bing reads Google and connects it. But yeah, I ask my little Chat GPT friend, like, is it important? And they're like, I mean, yes, but it's not a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, but don't you pull all of your information from Bing? And they were like, yeah, we do.
Yeah, totally. You got me.
Oof. Yeah. So getting on there, and I mean, it's not like you have to do anything. It's just that you have to set it up. I added a few extra photos to Bing. And then I think there's a button on there that you say sync to Google My Business. So you have to do it with the same address and be able to log into both of those. But then I think mine's set to sync every month. So really you wouldn't have to update it. It wouldn't be something else to add to your to-do list, but it's something to do and claim your business. Because just like Google My Business, you have to claim it.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, you have to be where people are searching in order for them to find you. And I'm not saying that everyone's using Bing. If you're using Bing, let's talk. But if someone is using a platform that is pulling from there, you need to make sure you're actually there. If someone's driving down a road and you've got a restaurant that has no sign, how are they going to know your restaurant is there? It's the same kind of thing. And it pulls back to...
I would argue claiming Google My Business is more important than just about anything.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to make sure you have those and these are statistics from Google, the rough statistics, because I can't remember the exact number, but it's something like 76% of people who can get all of the information in one place are actually more likely to contact you. And roughly 55% of those that can get all the information in one place are actually more likely to do business with you. And so that's where the Google Business Profile, your Bing Places, your Chamber of Business Directory, all of that comes in, that not every person is going to search you in all three things. They may only search you on one. If they can't find everything they need to contact you, they might click right off and go to the next person who can. And I just ran the numbers for this year. It's been really fascinating. Last year when I ran it, it was May 1st to May 1st. So there's a little month overlap. But we had roughly 400,000 searches. We had roughly 120,000 of those searches that people actually clicked on the pages.
Okay. From
there, roughly 10,000 clicked off and went to the person's website. This year, we had 750,000 searches, 160-something thousand clicks on pages, and there were 5,000 clicks off of the page, which at first I'm like, oh, but there are less people going to their websites. The reason being is because they got all of your contact information from your directory listing. They didn't have to go searching for you somewhere else. They could call you right there and then.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's where it comes to that importance of being places, wherever it needs to be, fill it out as much as you can. And then I think it goes back to making sure it's sustainable.
Oh, yeah.
Because look, we
Keep
do
it simple.
Yeah, we do the business profile reviews for Google. Every time we do it, we use AI to help us and search it. And AI goes, hey, if you want to go up in the ratings, you should turn on your messaging through Google Business Profile. Don't do that. Are you going to check the Google messaging system every day? No. But if you are, great. But if you're not, it'll hurt you in the long run. So just make sure what is sustainable.
Do not
is
give
done.
me another place that I need to check for messages.
It was also like, make sure you're putting posts every day on your Google profile. And I was like,
yeah, that
nope,
ain't happening.
don't do that.
Once a month. Once a month.
That's
That's big business talk right there.
Yeah, 100%. That's a computer going, this will help your ratings, and me going, I'm a human, can't do that. Like
that business has lots of employees.
Lots of employees.
That's not this business. This right here.
They're not listening to this podcast. Like, let's go real. All right. So, any other parting pieces you want to really talk on in regards to brand? Because,
oh my gosh, I could talk.
I know
all the days about it, and I love to talk about it. So really, honestly, if you want to talk about it, everybody's different. I mean, people have, as we were going around in that room today, oh, I'm here because of this, I'm here because of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to answer everybody's concern? Because it's a lot. And everybody's business is a little bit different, and figuring out who, your hero is versus like it's like you've got certain people that you serve, but really your hero is the people you're getting money from that helps you serve those people. So there's a lot of like little nuggets that you have to think through. And I really do think like, just don't, like you said, don't be your own sounding board. Get somebody that can talk you through all that stuff, especially if you're not passionate about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
like you're probably passionate about what you do.
Right. I think about when I started here and we took the Working Genius. One of my, what is the word? You're genius in some, you have competence in the other. The other one, the things that like make you frustrated. One of mine was galvanizing, which is about getting people excited for an idea. As a guy in marketing, you go, why aren't you excited about getting people excited? To me, the crux of it is by the time I've told you about it, I know it's a good idea. I know it's something you should do because I've worked through the problems and all of that. So I'm not going to be that guy that's like, hey, you should really do this, and here's why you should be excited about it. And I know you're thinking this, but I think you should think about it like this. You need someone that can do that.
You tell Marissa how to do that.
Marissa has got it all day long.
You know what I mean? That's her. I mean, yes, that's
the
perfect.
thing. And that's why you need the other people, even if you are a single, solopreneur. It is very hard when you are the only person in the business.
Oh, yeah. And if marketing is not your thing, then give that to somebody else. But as I heard somebody say this recently, and I think this is so important, you need to look for somebody who can be it was like a little play on words. Like people are all like, oh, I'm a social media manager. Like you need somebody who is like a content creator because times be changing and gone are the days of the millennial like perfect aesthetics and blah blah blah. People, and I keep saying this because people will say like, oh my gosh, aren't you scared of AI coming and taking your job? And I'm like, no, because I think that as more AI happens, people are going to be like, I'm not going with them because that even them? They're so fake. So I think that you have to be and talk like a real human. Yeah. Even if you use AI to help you create your ideas and train your like voice or whatever, you still have to come up with like human-ish feelings and ideas.
You should be using AI. You should not only be using AI.
And like I said today, you should not be
control
C-ing.
Yeah.
Because that is so gross. And also, AI bolds some of your words. So people that copy and paste, I know 100% that they've done that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always bolds the most random words.
It does. It's got random pieces to it. Yeah. And I think it just comes back to you don't let perfection get in the way of progress.
Oh my gosh.
Done is better than perfect. So if you need to use AI for some things and it's there, that doesn't need to be a forever. Yeah. It can be a temporary, but you still need to keep working towards it. Because, I mean, ultimately, you've got to figure out that scaling model. Today, it might be, hey, for this month, I only have the budget for this, but I'm going to work towards this because it's important. And next month, I'm going to be able to hire someone, or I'm going to take the time to do it. Time, money, bandwidth. I mean, most things cost at least one. Some things cost one. Most things cost all three.
Yeah.
I mean,
I currently have like my most viral TikTok. It's still growing. Is me like sort of in the dark and I'm showing something. I posted on Instagram too, but Instagram be like, I don't know, we don't really like you. But TikTok is going crazy over it. And I look ridiculous. And the advertising gods went and looked at my video and this is so embarrassing. Whatever. One thing you got to know about me is Kristina's going to be real if she's not going to be anything else. I'll tell you. Anyway, so I'm like, I have my hair up and I've got like little flyaways and it looks sort of, I mean, I guess I am. I'm in my 40s, whatever. I'm like losing hair right here. Whatever. Thank you, perimenopause. But I have been getting tons of ads for that ever since I posted that video. I'm like, I hate advertising. Usually, but anyway, I think that's funny. But it's just, I picked up my phone. I didn't stop videoing. It is not edited. It's just like, oh my gosh, let me show you this. And I'm like I'm at 95K on TikTok for that, which is pretty good and pretty good engagement. I've gotten grown a lot of followers from that video. But I will spend like painstaking amount of time on a video where I'm like, okay, and then I need to say this and let me stop it and let me say that. They'll get like 200 views.
Yeah. Yeah.
People like real.
People like real. People like authentic. And it comes across just as something like they would deal with on a normal basis. I go back to the Kylie Jenner thing. People will follow them and do all of that. Would anyone want to have a conversation with her?
I mean,
yes, because I mean,
I wouldn't know if I passed her on the street.
I'd like to have this money. But like, it comes back to, you can look at any of their videos, any, I think, Instagram influencer to a degree, and you can see what are they really passionate about? What are they being paid to be passionate about?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I tell people that a lot here when we talk about case groups. And I've heard, what is the best way for us to really make sure a new member in case understands the value? And I've told them it's for you to go and have a one-to-one and you talk about the strengths, because Alan, as marketing person for the chamber, can talk to them all day long. At the end of the day, I'm still paid to do it. I do believe in it, but I'm still paid to do it. You're not. Yeah. That authenticity, that true feeling, and the feeling on the other side of, okay, they're not being paid to tell me to do this, goes a lot farther than,
oh my gosh,
hey, come to my event because this is happening.
100%. Just be real.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow, all those places.
Website is krosephoto.com, and I am Kristina Rose Photography on all platforms. Most of them, you can do the little search with K Rose Photo too. But yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
Hit me up.
Well, thank you for being here. Now I get to say, hey, come do all the things. So everyone, please do make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all of that. That's the only way you can see when we post new things like the Lunch and Learn with Kristina Rose when that goes live, so that you're subscribed to our YouTube, all that stuff. Please make sure you're checking out the Chamber website, seeing all the events coming up and what we've got going on. Thank you again, Kristina, for being here.
It's always fun chatting with you.
I appreciate it. Thanks all of you. Make sure you go out, invest, connect, engage, and prosper.